Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So a bit of an update on the MX5. As you can see, it's a little bit different to how it was. I did a little video about rack spaces. If you didn't see that, go take a look. So I've just fitted a set on this. So basically, we have Dakota Drag and Drift next Saturday. And as you can see, I've stripped out some of the interior and I've just literally just finished fitting this roll bar here. It's a Carbing roll bar, but I've had to modify it because normally it runs down the side here and then carries on right down to the floor. And that means that the seat ends up sitting about this far forward, which is no good for me. I'm too squished up. So what I've done is I've cut the legs off, made some plates, bolted them through. So now the seat can pretty much go back to nearly the original. That's good enough. Any eagle eye viewers will see got rid of the black leather seats in here. I sold them, and this is a seat out of my Icon. This will just be in here until I find a decent bucket or whatever I fancy. But the trouble is, again, thought an S14 was bad for space, but you'd have to get a bucket that can fit. The wings aren't catching here or bloody everything. Oh yeah, they are. I got a bit carried away with this. Basically, I kept walking past it every day and could see the rust on the arch here, so I basically cut it all out, including the inner arch in here, and then I welded in a new quarter piece, and then but the only trouble is, started grinding it all back. There's quite a lot of filler from a previous repair, so I've had to sort of very quick fill job, chuck some primer on it, just so I can then probably rattle can a little bit of black over it just to protect it when I go drifting, because it's going to get covered in crap, especially at smooth ups. Then I'll just roll it back down again, because ideally I also need to do this arch here, because this one is also pretty bad, and then spray the pair of them. As I said in the other video, I got the gauges working when you turn the ignition on now. AFR and boost gauge there. Oh, I bought a set of teen coilovers. I've only had a chance to fit the rears. Again, I don't know if you'll see about a torch under here, but also fitted a pair of new anti-roll bar link bars. Don't know if you remember, there was basically I think someone had took the cat off, probably to weigh it in, and replaced it with a little flexi, but there was already a flexi, so the exhaust was wobbling around like crazy, so I whipped that off, welded a sort of straight pipe in there, and now the exhaust is a lot more secure. It still moves around, but like when you let go, it actually stops. Whereas before, you'd do that and it would it'd be horrendous. It would just keep rattling around for ages. What else we got? I'm trying to think now. There's so many things. I'm just sitting here. Also, I think, oh yeah, I managed to get a door card, but a lot of the little fittings in behind on the original door are missing, so it doesn't really clamp on very good. I wanted to fit some sort of front jacking bar, because the front's a pain in the ass when you've got the intercooler in there. There's basically no way you can jack without damaging anything. And I do want to move the intercooler. That's another thing I really wanted to do. I wanted to high mount it and change the pipe work so it didn't get ripped off if I caught anything, but I'm just going to have to see how it goes. The other thing I wanted to do, it's actually on its way to me now. I bought a coolant reroute off a guy off Facebook, just a second hand. I think it's a Skid Nation one. If you don't know about that, I'll probably make a video about fitting that. If you just Google coolant reroute, you'll see it's definitely a good thing to do. Saturday is just a test day. I've still not driven the car anywhere really, other than just when I picked it up, I drove up and down the road and checked it, engaged the gears, but otherwise expecting to do like half a session and something break, or someone's previous repair breaks. But it's not too far away, so it should be a good laugh. Let's hope for the best, eh? Happy MX5 in. Right, so it's now Tuesday night. I've got tonight, Wednesday, Thursday to finish the car, and then Friday night I really need to be loading up all the wheels and tyres and the actual car on the trailer ready to go early Saturday morning. Just mounted the fire extinguisher. I did in the end keep the 2 kilogram one. If there was a fire, that's a pretty decent size, hopefully it'll be able to put something out. So I'll refit some of the interior trim and a bit of the carpets and get some of that back in. I'm not going to run a passenger seat because where I've mounted this is above where the passenger seat mounts. Also, with the wiring down here, it's only been quickly put in there, and I could really do with having some sort of cover on there so people's feet don't catch the wiring if anyone's in here. I'll take this belt out, and then when you go scrutineering, it'll be literally that seat, which I've just pulled forward so I can bolt some of this trim back in, which has been cut down to go around the bar there. Also, I've aerosoled the driver's side rear arch. I just wanted it to look black, so at least if I'm going around from a distance, it doesn't just look like multicolored. Also, the front bumper, I don't know if I took a photo, I probably didn't show you in detail, but the front bumper was like it's some sort of repeaters in the side of the bumper on a normal MX5 Mark II, and someone had smoothed over them with filler before. Yeah, it was so lumpy. It's still lumpy now, but I rubbed back a tiny bit and just sprayed it over black. So again, at least it looks black from a distance. It doesn't look very good, but when I do this rear arch, then I'll need to pull the paint off the doors, probably have to nitro emboss the doors and the top of the rear quarters to get all the old paint off, rub it back and maybe spray it all, or I might get someone else to spray it. I haven't decided yet. At the moment, that isn't really the top of my priority list. It's just getting the car ready to go. I haven't got the front coilovers on. I'm still on the front lowering springs, but the height doesn't look too bad. I just don't know if they're going to be too soft, but we'll see. The rear coilovers, I still need to adjust. The problem you got is the lower you set them, the softer they are, because there's some, I think, a teen super advanced. I don't know why I call super advanced. They're not really. They basically, the height adjusts, and it also adjusts how soft the spring is. So the more you lower it, the softer it becomes as well. But there is dampening on the top. Ideally, I need to swap out the HSDs that are on my Icon onto this car, but that does usually, HSDs run pretty low. So the only thing I was worried about is the other way around. They'll probably be pretty stiff, but on the front, especially if I extend the arms and stuff later on, it might be like too low. It's going to be one of those days really on Saturday just to see what works. I'm trying different tyre sizes. So the stock tyre size on a MX5, these are stock wheels. They come as a 195/50. I've also got these gold wheels that are 7J, which also run 195/50, but also I've got a set of the SVT 16-inch wheels, which run a 205 45/16. That's a slightly bigger, slightly taller wheel. So I haven't decided yet. I basically need to run both sizes, and then once I decide which tyre size I like, I will get all the wheels the same size then, and probably get a set of accelerators, because I will be running them again this year. But for this drift day this weekend, I will just be running part ones and whatever I can sort of get my hands on. Right, that's all them done up. Let's whip this seatbelt out of here. One seatbelt. Right, so I've decided to quickly make a bumper bar with some bits left over. So I've got this bit of bar here, or tube, an old Benin tow hook. So hopefully make that fit the front of here. Right, as you can see, I've modified that bar now. I've cut it a bit shorter. I've welded an extra bracket across. Basically, that's where the original towing hook would have been, one in there and one in that side, bolted up through. I've just cut this, cut another little slab here. So basically, it's attached in 3 places, all the original fittings. If I show you over here what came off, took the rubber, this plasticky rubber bash bar off, and that leaves you with these 2 here poking out, but they're just bolted in around. So I've unbolted them, and then I've used the 3 holes on each side to mount the bar with. And then when I'd done that, there was still a little bit of movement. That's why I've welded this attachment on, bolts through in there where the original tow hook would have been. And then on the other side, this tow hook, because basically the idea is this jacking bar here is sort of a protection bar, but behind the bumper. And this one here should be angled that the bumper should just sit underneath. So say I go off track, get stuck or whatever, I need to get pulled back in, someone can just put a strap around there, but it won't rip the bumper off. That's the idea anyway. But I will need to cut the bumper back a bit. So you can see that from here, that this, I think somewhere around here and probably down the side of here, is going to catch on the bumper. We'll try and fit it and see what happens. On this side, needs cutting away in there, and on that side it needs cutting away there, but I think that's going to work. Trim that off around here, that side and that side. I just used one of these cutters like that, just went around the side, like that. So let's try again. I might need a bit more fettling, but right. So after a lot of cutting about, I've basically cut off most of the inside. I now have it clearing. Funnily enough, the actual tow hook looks like a tongue. That's going to work out literally perfect. So right, so I'm running around like a bit of an idiot today. It's now Friday evening, and I reckon by the time we finish tonight it'll be 10, 11 o'clock, but we will ready roll. But I've managed to fit, this is the Skid Nation, I don't know if you can see the sticker there, Skid Nation coolant reroute, which blocks this off on the front and moves the thermostat to the back. I'm going to do a full video on that because I actually videoed most of what I fitted last night when I've done that, so should explain it a bit more. Put the breather, there was just like a little filter on here that was breathing to air. I've ran that pipe into a fitting into the intake. Some places don't like it when you've got a breather just to air, so I've done that, shouldn't cause any problems. And the final thing I've just done is basically made a quick release handbrake. Push that in, you screw that screw right in, and then that button stays pressed, so you can just pull it like that without having to put your thumb over there, and you can just keep doing it. So that's the last little modification you do. Like I say, roll bars in, got the fire extinguisher, seats all bolted up, done the coolant reroute, which I didn't think I'd have time to do. So I was worried about that before because I thought I just didn't want to blow the thing up getting hot. I've heard people say that they can cook the rear cylinder, especially on turbo MX5s, and I don't know how good this one is. Like, yeah, I have no idea how good the engine and stuff is. If you leave it running, it does just get up to temperature and just sit there ready. So I haven't got round to yet seeing if the fan would kick in. I was told by the previous owner the fan would kick in, but I was told quite a few things by the previous owner, so take that with a pinch of salt. But it's all plugged in. I've just got to load up wheels and tyres, some tools. I'm going to take as many spares as I can. I've got a spare drive shaft, a few bits and bobs, so nothing major, but just if something easy goes that I can change there and now. It'll be an early start tomorrow. Meet Steve. Probably seen Steve on a couple of my older videos. He skids an E36 BMW. It's quite well kitted out now, that car. It's got a full cage, full CLM lock kit and blah blah. You might have seen him on a few of Rob Spray Motorsports videos because he does quite a lot of Rob. Joe, don't get jealous by the way. we'll see how we get on. Should we get enough about? I think we're going to try and meet at 6:45, 7 tomorrow, which is just, I'm not a morning person, it's too early and it's night time really. Yeah, let's crack on.